Welcome to the Lovecars on the Grid podcast, your global motorsport roundup with me, Tiff, Needell and Paul Woodman.
Welcome to Lovecars on the Grid, your global motorsport podcast roundup, where we look back on a weekend of absolutely packed full of action from around the world of motorsport. There was F1 and F1 Academy at Holland, IndyCar, IndyNXT, and NASCAR from America. There's always NASCAR. There was no Superbikes in Hungary. That was your mistake. And back home, BTCC and British Superbikes. But first, in the news, there's lots going on, especially in terms of the hot seats or musical chairs or whatever you want to call it, Formula One. What have you got? Because there's a big one.
Well,
Jack Doohan's been confirmed.
Yeah, so Jack Doohan, as you expect, he's going to be at Albert, which is great. Finally, a team has promoted their own academy driver to a seat and not tried to get someone on the way out. Logan Sargeant might not even be in Monza they're talking about. I've got talking about maybe Liam Lawson, Red Bull are offering, and Mercedes are offering Mick Schumacher. Please, not Mick Schumacher, but so that's
He's a safe
interesting.
pair of hands. He's a safe pair of hands. It was very interesting.
Mick
I'll tell you what,
Schumacher. Do you not remember why Mick Schumacher was dropped from Haas because he kept on breaking cars in half at Monaco and places?
Oh yeah.
That was
Well,
one
I'll
of
tell
those.
you what I've got that's quite interesting. So I was travelling yesterday during the Grand Prix. I've watched it since, but so I listened to the very wonderful Harry Benjamin on BBC Radio 5 Live. He was really good. And he's with Alice Powell, who had a habit of saying, you know, when someone asks a question, says, "Oh, that was a long pit stop, wasn't it?" Yes, no. And they always answer it, yes, no. And that Alice had, but she's brilliant as well. I'm a big boss. But they had a bit of insider knowledge, perhaps, because they reckon Stoffel Van Dorn might take the place. That's quite interesting, actually. He's not a bad pair of hands there.
No, I have to. But something about Stoffel, I don't know. He's. I can use the woke anymore. He's very sort of with the boys and does all his tweets. He does perfect PR for all these different Formula E's and. You know, he loves Formula. He loves everything. So I'd be a bit disappointed if Stoffel got another chance. I mean, he was a really good driver. I have to admit, brilliant driver. But it's just something about him that doesn't excite me. I want a character that excites me. And sadly, Stoffel's. Really? Yes.
But you tell that to characters. We know characters sell sponsorship, but what would you want as a team manager? Surely you want a safe pair of hands and someone that's going to be a beautiful PR bit of loveliness.
Well, who's there Williams? Well, we can get the British boy in. I mean, he's busy trying to win the Formula 3 championship. I suppose that's Formula. Who's the Formula 2 Williams? I don't know who they've got in the Formula 2 Williams Academy.
No, we should know.
I don't even know who their reserve driver is. Who's Williams' reserve driver?
Poor old Logan Sargeant. I'll have a look.
I know.
Let's carry on. So you think who do you think it's going to be for from your side? Because. Well, who knows, I guess.
I don't know. I'm guessing Liam Lawson, but I'd choose, if I was the team and I had all these on offer, I'd choose Liam Lawson.
Yeah.
That was my choice. And you choose who? We've got three choices. Who would you, out of the three at the moment, who would you choose?
I mean, I'm a bit biased. I'll choose Liam Lawson as well, just because I'm a bit biased, but there you go. Okay. Any other news? Anything else going on?
Yeah, also Kimi Antonelli's confirmed, I think, for FP1 at Monza. So that's going to be interesting. Whoever's in the Williams might have a new driver at Williams. We've got Antonelli in the Mercedes at Monza. The other thing is Liam Lawson has definitely been told by Helmut Marko has said he's definitely got to drive next year. So when we looked last week, what seats are available, this Red Bull imploding, maybe not completely imploding, but could completely implode, that is still on the card. So they've now said one is out. So I did a little podcast on my Twitter. I mean, not a podcast, a little, what are they called? You know,
a
poll, not a pod, a poll on Twitter. And I did put Yuki in there. I'm Yuki pretty sure started. Yuki got 10% of the votes, but 50% went for poor old Ricciardo going out. 40% went for Checo going
Bottas?
out. One of them has to go. So the point is that, well, that's interesting. Because I've got this horrible thing that Bottas is going to get the last seat in Audi stuff. I don't want
13 years of mediocrity.
Exactly. But if you're wanting a steady driver, because people say to me, oh, Bottas is better, he's a steady driver, and that's what Audi need for their new car. But now, if you've got either Perez or Ricciardo getting kicked out of Red Bull, would they not be candidates ahead of Bottas at Sauber? So I think Bottas might have to wait a bit. Might have to wait till the end of the year to see who's going to get kicked out of Red Bull to go in. So, but it's great news.
Perez
it
can't
is good.
Stay. Perez can't. We say that every week.
But he would then be a hot choice for Sauber. Surely better than Bottas at Sauber. Surely both Ricciardo and
I would take Bottas over Perez any day of the week.
You?
Any day of the week. And I think Bottas is mediocrity. So that shows what I think of Perez. But he clearly is nowhere near as good as 95% of the drivers on that grid. He's not. But Perez.
All right, Perez is gone. All right, Perez is gone.
Let me just run through this very quickly. The reserve drivers: Red Bull, Liam Lawson; Mercedes, Mick Schumacher, and Vesti; Ferrari, Behrman; I can't pronounce his name. Antonio Giovinazzi, and Schwartzman. Aston Martin, Drogovic. McLaren was Pato Ward. That's a long time ago. That was the beginning of the season. Yeah. And who was the Japanese guy? Hiriakwa. Ever heard of him? Rio
Ogura. Will you get to the point and tell us who Williams?
Alpine, Jack Doohan. Visa Cash App. Remember what it was called that? Liam Lawson. Stake was Thierry Pourchaire and Zane Maloney. Haas was Fittipaldi and Ollie Beerman. And Williams was TBC. So we still don't know of all that. Williams was TBC. Let's get on to some racing, shall we? Because we talk about
finally
this every week.
We report the Haas have finally got their tracks on the bit of it. I love the old fashioned. This is the old 60s Formula One with Bernie Ecclestone days. There were forever teams having writs posted on them at racetracks, and they were all their equipment was stolen. That happened so often in the good old days with lots of Italian sponsorship coming in and dodgy money from all over the world. But yes, there's this battle going on for the Uralkali, the old Mazepin's ration money, which they kept all the sponsorship. It kicked Mazepin out, but kept all his money. So it seems like the courts have said, "Well, yeah, really, you kicked Mazepin out. You ought to give some of the money back." And finally, it was only $9 million.
$9 million or something.
Oh, yeah, come on, get your hand in your pocket. So apparently, they finally paid the $9 million today. So the Haas tracks are now on the way to Monza.
I mean, talk about no alternative. You either pay the money or you're not racing it.
Well, yeah. Once the writ has been agreed by the country that they writ in. So
very good. But I like that. I like the intuition of the people that are claiming the money, because if you owe the money, you got to pay the money. If that's the way it is. Poor old Haas.
So of course, the Dutch Grand Prix, Zandvoort, fun track. Not an overtaking track, a bit of a go-kart track. They all love, they go on and on about the bloody banking. Oh, the banking.
And the gyro cam. Make you feel sick,
I like that. I like the gyro cam. I thought that was brilliant.
We're so opposite. Opposite.
That showed you how steep it was. I mean, it's still a flat-out corner. And the turn 3, when they sort of turn 4, whatever it is, but we can overtake. Of course, they can overtake. The quick line's the high line. Anyone that tried the low line didn't get anywhere. And the turn 1, Tarzan, has always had a bit of banking on it, even when I raced the Formula Ford round there in 1976. And the Formula 1 in 1979 on the old track. So it started with poor old Logan Shunt. And it was just a weird shunt. I mean, he went over the grass. Now, you and I don't know what visibility there is sitting in those Formula 1 cars. It was a bit wet, wasn't it? There was rain in the air and so a bit of buckling. But, he just drove off the end of the curb over grass, wet grass, and so of course the inside wheel span up. Well, yeah, because he obviously didn't think he was going to go over the grass, so he wouldn't have done it on purpose. He wouldn't have been trying to shortcut the corner. I mean, it's a shame. I feel so sorry for the kids. As I pointed out on Twitter, they were rubbish him, rubbish. I mean, one Formula 3 races, he won Formula 2 races, feature Formula 2 races. He's no mug, but
you're not there like he is. Pretty much on merit. Well, he is there on merit.
He's brought money. There's obviously money in the background.
But he's an exceptional driver.
Yeah, but he's just not quite good enough.
Exactly.
I think it's tough. I think the Williams is obviously a very tricky car to drive. When you look at Alexander Albon writing the thing off, was it in Australia? He just lost it in qualifying and destroyed a car. So Albon's had a few crashes and a few offs. So, you know,
Not
you're a
many,
rookie
though,
in
Tiff.
Formula
You can't,
One.
you can't even compare.
No, but I'm just saying it's a
Albon.
difficult car. The Williams car's not been the easiest car to drive. So he's in at the deep end, and it hasn't worked out. I mean, obviously the career is over, but I'm sure he's, you know, it's a shame for him that it's gone so bad. But if he gets an IndyCar ride,
he'll have exactly. He'll go in IndyCar and
he'd be great
have
in
a great
IndyCar.
time. Yeah.
So that all happened. And then Q1, we had a bit of drama, didn't we? Because we lost both Ocon and Ricciardo. So Ricciardo was a bit worried because the countdown to who's getting kicked out starts this weekend. And although Perez will come on to didn't do that well either, Ricciardo, of course, out in Q1 along with the two Saubers. Who else went out? Ocon went out, really upset with him moaning a lot about it all. And of course, Sargeant was out. He didn't even enter Q1. Q2, then we lost Sainz and Hamilton. That was the big stuff. So Sainz, Ferrari, not that quick because I think where did McLaren end up 6th on the grid, didn't he? So 6th and 11th. Ferraris didn't look quick at all. Well, nor did the Mercedes. Mercedes seemed to stray. It's always annoying when we only get 2 of the 4 top manufacturers working properly. You know, 2 work well for a weekend and 2 are off the pace. We want to, and all 4 are on the pace.
I think before we move on, interesting to say about Lewis during qualifying as well.
That was my next thing I was about to say. Yeah,
the whole Q2. In fact, start off when they went out on to the final stint. They only had a few moments left, and Max Verstappen. They say that the white line on the pit, exiting the pits, is like a brick wall. You do not cross that white line. Max crossed it, penalty.
How do you get away with that? I never read how he got away with it.
I don't know. And it's not because it's Max. It's just I don't know. I don't know.
That overtaking does in the pit lane annoys me. It's a sort of arrogant Max, you know, I'm going to go overtake you. I mean, in my mind, in the pit lane exit, they should make the white lines, even throughout the whole pit lane exit, they should make those barriers. Because he was fully over the white line, but he overtook someone in the middle and he went outside, and you just shouldn't be allowed. You shouldn't be allowed to overtake in the pit exit. Full stop. It should be a single file.
Okay, so what if your car breaks down on the exit of the pit lane, and what happens to all the cars behind?
Obviously, you can go off road. You can go off road anywhere,
but that's overtaking.
Broken down, but not if they stopped. However. There was the poor people. They lost the Spa 24 Hours, the Ferrari team, didn't they? Because some team came in and he parked it right in the middle. But if you're breaking down, for God's sake, pull over.
Move out of the way.
Car. I know you parked right in the middle. But of course, Hamilton got pinged for this.
Perez, so you're right. So he didn't get a penalty, which is really, really odd. A black and white. Clear as daylight, he went over the white line. And then, yes, Hamilton and Perez.
And Hamilton's interesting because, I mean, he got the 3-place drop, which put him down to, 15th on the grid, wasn't it? So about 12th down to 15th. And Anthony Davidson, I always respect and admire. His analysis was, what does Hamilton do? He can't stop. But what you need to know, which Davidson didn't tell us, is when was Hamilton told someone's coming fast? That would be, if he was told late and he's already into the corner, well, he either goes quick or he was by then. It was too late to tell me. I'm in the corner, so I stayed on the outside. But if he'd been told 2 corners earlier, then it's a slam dunk penalty. He should have backed off much earlier and not got himself into the position. So that is the one thing you need to know about that hindrance ruling. We never really hear is when the radio messages never coming live to us. They're always delayed and we come them out. But it looks
speaking of radio messages, what did you think of Perez calling Lewis an idiot? To say what this idiot.
They always do. Every driver that's ever held up always says, "Idiot! What's the idiot doing?" Everyone's an idiot when they hold you up. It seems to be a standard speech all drivers have. But it did lose Perez's first set of red tyres, so therefore he can say I only qualified 5th. I was half a second slower than Max because I only had 1 set of reds to use because I'm wasted. I understand that puts you on the back foot if you've wasted 1 set of reds. Because most people go through that Q2 with using only 1 set of reds. So you had 2 left, which he didn't. But then the final practice, Lando, it all began, didn't it? 0.356 quicker than Max in 2nd place. It was a lap and a half. He was absolutely on it. It was wonderful to see. and Oscar, he said, I found the quotes, he was really blatant. He was half a second slower than Lando, which is big. He just said sort of the second half of the lap didn't work out very well. But I don't know, did he only have one go or not? I don't know, maybe second go. George dragged his Mercedes up to fourth, which is quite impressive. With Lewis only being 11th and then down 3 more places, or 12th, wasn't he? And then down 3 more places. Albon was 8th. Really good. Go on.
Amazing.
Williams, with the troubles they were having.
He was briefly 8th.
Yeah, I know. So then all the mechanics were cheering and all the effort they made to, well, obviously they were still rebuilding Logan's car at this time. And then they're told the bloody floor was it 3 millimeters? I haven't found the actual number. I think they just filed off a bit of the floor, didn't they, to make it 3 millimeters narrower. And of course, all the reading is done by laser scanning, and Williams said they laser scan it. And it's not as if you've got a tape measure, is it? You need a tape measure, laser scanning. What's that one about? But it's so. Williams having a bad weekend and they stick Albon at the back. So it's always interesting qualifying who goes through. There's always a bit of drama. There's some stories from qualifying. Because there's more stories normally from qualifying than the race, because the race was pretty simple. I mean, in the end, wasn't it? I mean, once Lewis had breezed past, it was just wonderful to watch. And that fastest lap at the end, I didn't catch. So someone said the radio.
Lewis breezing past. Lando breezing past, you mean?
Oh, Lando breezing past. Yeah, I've got Lewis in my head still finishing up the qualifying. Yeah, Lando breezing past. Still needs to get those starts right, McLaren's. Obviously, it's all computerized anyway. They just go and drop the clutch.
It's both McLaren's. It wasn't just Lando. It's not. It's not.
It's all in the computer software. How they get it right.
It's not reflex. They've all got epic reflexes, and they're not that much worse than Max. Admittedly, Max does get amazing starts, and he's brave as well, Max, on the starts.
So he gave the Dutch a bit of a cheer for a while anyway before Lando. This fastest lap. That's the message. I didn't catch the. Apparently they said they mimic what Max said. I couldn't see what they said. He was talking like Max talks when he's won another race and won it easily. But the fastest lap on the on old, hard.
But this is what I can't understand. So Piastri couldn't even get past Leclerc for third.
Oh no!
In a much faster car. And Lando, meanwhile, on the same tyres, on the last lap, sets the fastest lap on these old tyres. That was just phenomenal.
It was the fact he was able to catch Max up on the same tyres early on and breeze past him. And yet Oscar couldn't breeze past anybody, the Ferraris. I mean, maybe, the Ferraris got different defence systems and, they charged their bloody batteries up and maybe, I don't know why Oscar couldn't get through, but he was just saying he spent 90% of the race in dirty air, which of course wears your tyres out, so you lose your grip, and you don't have a tyre advantage over the person you're chasing because they've got better tyres. So it was a shame he couldn't get through, really. Leclerc was really good. I mean, to get from 6th, Ferrari not having a good weekend, and of course Sainz got through to 5th as well. So
he did well.
Ferrari had quite a good race. Perez, who dropped to 6th, obviously. And lost more, but I mean they're only 63 points behind now or something, isn't it? It's amazing. McLaren. I mean, it's
less, isn't it?
I said gained 63 in the last 5 races. They're only 30
points behind. Yeah,
and they've got more points in the last 5 Grand Prix. They've gained 60 points in 5 races, and now they're only 30.
Red Bull have won in 7 races, and of course, Perez is nowhere, not even in the hunt for anything at all. I mean, Alice and the 5 Live guys, Harry and the guys were going on about, Lando can win the championship now. Crikey, with Max's, how consistent Max is and Red Bull, that would be highly
He's got to have like 3 DNFs, I think. 2 DNFs at the minimum. Because if he keeps winning. Well, I think I did work it out. I've forgotten. I've written something. If the same result happens in the next 9 races, right? Lando, Max, and Lando getting fastest lap. So if he gets the same result for the next 9 races, he will win the championship by 2 points. So yes, if
they kept saying, but if Max doesn't finish 2 races, and Lando wins them, that's 50 points. But hang on a minute. What if Lando doesn't finish 2 races and Max wins them? It's just, in fact,
highly unlikely.
Alice Power was talking about that. There was 3 or 4 corners to go, and they're still talking about, Lando might win the championship when there's 3 or 4 corners to go. And then Harry chips in and says, and Lando's coming around the final corner to win his second ever Grand Prix. And I'm thinking, we would have liked to have known that before, not stuff that you can talk about afterwards when there's nothing going on. But anyway, it was very, very good.
Crofty was going on about when it was towards the end, once Lewis had got the 5-second lead and all changed the last tyres, already heading for the finish line. And then he started saying, well, of course, it's going to depend on the degradation of these hard tyres. Either of them could go off or the gaps could come down. To which Martin finally said, actually, these hard tyres are known to be able to go 40 laps without any degradation. Poor old Crofty was trying to build up something. That's what they desperately do. They try to find something to be exciting when the race is boring. And it's great to watch the corners.
But that's what I like about it. Yeah. It is nice to have a little bit of excitement. When they say, okay, so Piastri's now catching Leclerc, and at this rate, in 8 laps time, he's going to overtake Verstappen, so it's going to be a McLaren 1-2. And no, it's not. It could.
It's overtaking your tyres are off, but it was good. I mean, it was nice to see who finished up there. Gasly had a good race. He qualified in the top 10, didn't he? And finished 9th. Alonso and Aston Martin still cruising around in 10th, 11th, but Stroll's very close to. I don't know whether Fernando must have lost his mojo, because he seems to be sort of getting out qualified by Stroll on and off, and then just staying the same sort of pace. He doesn't seem to be able to outpace.
Once, isn't it? He's out qualified him once, I think, maybe twice.
Who? Stroll out qualified?
Yeah,
it was close every time, and then they run around together in tandem in the race.
Yeah, they do, don't they? They do the 2 Aston Martins.
And Sargeant finished 16th, and Albon was 14th. So I mean, Sargeant did a reasonable Grand Prix.
I think all 20 cars finished, and there was only 1 yellow flag. Magnussen early on.
And the 2 Saubers were 2 laps down. Everyone else was 1 lap down, but 2 Saubers at the back were 2. I mean, it's desperate there. I don't know what Audi are thinking they bought, or how they think they're going to convert this lethargic team. Obviously, they've got some designers coming in. So it was a great Grand Prix for Lando, the British fans, obviously, but a great spectacle, but not a very exciting race, was it?
No, it was not.
As neither was the F1 Academy. I watched a bit of F1 Academy, which it's great stuff. It's promoting, getting more young girls interested in having a go at motorsport. But it was 1 win for Abby Pulling, 1 win for Dorian Pan. But neither's going to be a Grand Prix driver, so let's not get too excited. But it's great that it encourages more girls. Look, girls, you can race at the Zandvoort. The poor old Marta Garcia, who won it last year, got the free Freca race, Formula Regional Europe. She's only got out the top 20 once. She finished 15th was her best result. Otherwise, she's always in the 20s. So I don't know whether Abby Pulling gets the same prize a season of Freca, or what they're going to do. That's the problem. It's finding a girl good enough and then promoting her into Formula 3 where she can be good enough. But at the moment, I appreciate what they're doing is just opening up the world to say, look, girls can race, get in there, girls, because we'll then find that girl one day.
Or many of them.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
So that was the Zandvoort. It annoyed me that they only had 4 races, poor old Dutch spectators standing in the dunes.
That's rubbish, isn't it? I looked at the schedule to see what was happening. That's rubbish, actually.
Put on the Dutch touring car gem, put on a support race, They had the Porsche Super Cups, of course, which Thingy didn't do so well.
Harry King.
No, he was qualified 7th and finished about 5th, so I think his title challenge is probably over this year again. Right. America, where the entertainment was massive, unless you want to put any more about Zandvoort. I mean, it's just entertainment. I'm sorry, I love American motorsport, everybody, more than Formula One most of the time.
No, you would take Formula One any day of the week.
Well,
it's
only
only
because it's the history of Formula One, and it's the peak Formula. It is the top Formula, where the best drivers in the world are competing head to head. So, of course, Formula One is the pinnacle. But the Daytona 400, it was everything that Daytona always promises. They're all going around 200 miles an hour. 3 lanes towards the end, and the commentators just say, well, the only way, of course, you can move forwards is to push the bloke in front of you. And it's like the best pusher pushes you to 202 miles an hour. So you then go, hello, boys, I'm going by 202 miles an hour faster than you. It's an incredible spectacle. But there were 3 wrecks, I think, at least 3 wrecks, maybe 4, Kyle Lawson was involved in all three. He escaped the first two with minimal damage, but got wiped out in the last one. There was Josh Berry dicing for the lead towards the end, and they were all, again, pushing, changing lanes, closing doors. And he had this huge shunt. He got tipped upside down because he went across the nose of another car. They got all these air vents that stop the cars flying as much as possible, but they can't guarantee it. And he's now on his roof at 200 miles an hour. And he headed straight for the barrier on the inside of the track. It's all tarmac now. So the grass used to make the roly-poly a lot more. But he just stayed on its roof and he hit the barrier so hard. And then he came out and he ended up spinning round and round on a top. I got giddy. And even the commentator, the racing driver commentator, I forget the analyst, was saying that the worst thing about that was a 200 mile an hour impact when you're hanging in your belts. It's not as if you're in your seat, strapped down. He was a bit concerned, but it was Josh Berry, and no, he'd got out.
If he should never be hanging in his belts. They should be so tight he could barely breathe.
Well, that's true. I know. But he got out and said, no problem. No, it wasn't as big as it looked. No problem. But
it's incredible how safe modern motorsport is.
I know.
Even in club motorsport now, we all get cheesed off with scrutineering, but how good it is with your roll cage and your harnesses and you see everything, really.
Which often means how much pushing and shoving there is. NASCAR everywhere, because you're not scared of injuring yourself. You just push and shove. You do feel
quite invincible. But why did you go to NASCAR? Is that the better formula than Indy and NXT? We normally go in that order.
I missed a page. I turned 2 pages at once. So sorry, I missed page 3 out and jumped straight to 4.
That's all
right.
So
we might as well finish
mix
off
it up.
NASCAR.
Finish
well,
NASCAR.
As the weekend went, NASCAR was Saturday night, so I had Sunday morning. So it was before IndyCar on. So that's an excuse. Anyway.
So how's this final 16 look? Go on.
Well, yeah, but the race itself. So we had all the crashes that Daytona always seemed to have, the big one, as they call it. But had this wonderful run to the finish line, because there's always great stories. Everywhere there's a story behind the story. So there's this kid who's been sacked from his team. So he's driving the 21, which is a famous Wood Brothers. So this is a team that have been in NASCAR since 1953, and they hadn't won since 2017. They haven't won for 7 years. They've sacked the kid, the driver, who's Harrison Burton. He's at the bottom of the points. He's the son of Jeff Burton, who's an all-time superstar of NASCAR, and he was actually on the commentary for one of the TV teams. The dad's commentating. He's been sacked. He's not got any to drive, but all of a sudden, having qualified about 20th or something, he's worked his way to the front. He's missed the crashes. But he's got Kyle Busch, and Kyle Busch hasn't qualified for the playoffs. Kyle Busch has won a race every year for 19 years. This is the storylines you get in NASCAR. So Kyle Busch is behind him, pushing him. So Kyle desperately wants to win to keep his winning run into the 20th year. And, of course, the winner would go straight through the playoffs. So unfortunately, in the green-white checker, because the big crash had come as always just for the end, we didn't have another crash. It's quite often you get once you've gone to the white flag, if there's another crash, the pace car comes out and they cruise to the finish line. But no, we had to run to the finish line and nobody crashed into anybody. And the kid won by half a car length from Kyle Busch. So Kyle Busch didn't go through. And Harrison Burton, who's bottom of the points, is now in the playoffs. And he cried all the way around, and his wife, his mum was there, and his dad was in the commentary box. His wife hugged him, and it was just, he was in tears. And he actually said in the commentary, he says, I've got fired by the team, but I wanted to give everything for the Wood Brothers. So hold on a minute, the team that's fired you're still on commentary, says, I wanted to give them everything I could. It's their first, and also it's their 100th win. So all the stories you get, you see. The Wood Brothers, 100th win by the kid they sacked. And funny enough, the guy who's taken his place was Josh Berry, who was spinning around upside down on his roof. You can't beat NASCAR.
Who would you have? Who would you have in your team?
Well, NASCAR.
Yeah, out of those two.
Out of those two, Busch. I mean, Berry's very aggressive. He's very aggressive. I mean, he'd probably caused his own downfall. He was pushing and shoving more than many, but he's not through the playoffs either. So he was also pushing and shoving, desperate to win. But he's an aggressive driver.
Did you watch this weekend with your son, Harry?
But he was in
NASCAR
so Harry hasn't got Sky, so he can't fast forward. He watches it live. When he came in from a night out at 12:30, and it was on his laptop, so he just watched it until 4 a.m. He watched the Grand Prix. He was still in bed. He hadn't got up when the Formula One started. He was in bed still.
To be young, eh?
NASCAR. Oh no. So a lot of entertainment in NASCAR. They'll all say it's a silly thing going around flat out 200 miles an hour. So everyone full throttle.
So quickly, this last 16, the playoffs.
Yeah, so they've got one more round. They're going down to, I've got that note in me next weekend. So they're going down to wherever they're going down to, Darlington, where Kyle Busch needs to win through.
Who else?
3 on points. Well, Bubba Wallace is outside on the point. So Chris Boucher's bottom of the 16 on points. So 3 will go through on points. It's not that close. So it looks unlikely that poor old Bubba's going to make it. And Kyle Busch will have to win.
Unless they win next weekend.
Yeah, and anyone can win. Anyone from anywhere can win.
Okay, good stuff. Let's go to IndyCar then.
But IndyCar's boring, you see. That's probably why it was a good job I jumped a page, because I told you last week, Portland, it's a boring track. That's why I have Formula E. And there was nobody over. It was a blooming boring race. I'm sorry, but I predicted it. And I'll say it. It's no point. These commentators now, you all say, we're going to have a brilliant race today. It's going to be a brilliant race. How do you know? You can't. Look, it might be a brilliant race, but as I said last year, I doubted it was going to be, and it wasn't. All about strategy, tyres. I mean, it's just so many tyre stops and fueling stops in the middle of the race. Everyone's on different strategies. So you don't really know who's leading until you come down to the last 20 minutes when everybody's had their final stops. The only excitement was on the first lap, funny enough. They all got through the first chicane. It's got a stupid first chicane when there's normally a crash every year, but they got through the first chicane. But instead, half around the first
It's very twisty-turny, isn't it? It's very...
Yeah, it's quite a fun thing to drive, I think. It looks a bit of fun. You're on the throttle, off the throttle, lots of, oversteers. Again, with IndyCar, when you're on board with the drivers, you're hearing the wheels spin up, the opposite lot going on. So you're driving the cars. But half around the lap, it was Carl Kirkwood dived up the inside of Scotty Dixon and pushed him onto the dirt. They've got a famous exit that causes trouble most years. It's really a gnarly curb and then a ditch. So if you do get pushed, half a car offline, you're bouncing up and down in the boonies. You're not on some nice smooth bit of tarmac. So you lose a lot of speed. So loads of people are overtaking him as he's heading up to there's just a little left kink and then a right kink before the back straight. And poor old Pietro Fittipaldi, so many Fittipaldi. So Fittipaldi was coming by him with more speed on the inside, heading to this kink right. And it annoys me. They put a curb, right, on the track. So there's the wall, the curb, and then more track. So Dixon gave Fittipaldi enough room looking at the wall, but when Fittipaldi was then on the curb, he bounced on the curbs, hit Dixon straight at the wall, retired, championship hopes over. But they then penalised Pietro Fittipaldi for unnecessary contact, which is a famous NASCAR ruling that they do, unnecessary contact, drive-through penalty. But one of the, I think the driver analyst said, it wasn't Pietro's fault. He was pushed onto a curb and that bounced him in the air. So Scotty should have given more room in a way. But the commentator said no, that was definitely hitting him. And anyway, he got a drive-through penalty, which annoyed me. He shouldn't have had a drive-through penalty, but you shouldn't have the curb there.
Old man shouts at cloud.
Do you remember when Singapore? They've still got a bit at Singapore. They've taken most of the curbing out. But remember the first Singapore, you said, no, drive you mad. So they got a wall coming out. It's a street circuit. And they built those big humpy curbs. You remember the cars got across them and then they just tobogganed because all 4 wheels were lifted off the ground. Why have the curb there? Just let the drivers drive up to the wall. I mean, it happens in Canada. You've got to, there's lots of places, Monaco. Don't put any curbs. And then if, you get pushed into the wall, then it's not your fault. So anyway, so Will Power won it and he held off Alex Palou towards the end, and Palou's leading the championship by quite a lot of points. Will Power is now second, 3 rounds to go. It looks like Palou's going to win the championship again in this. Will Power has 3 great ovals, and Palou's not the best on ovals, but I think he'll probably have enough.
Where did Ferrucci end up? Because he said
don't mention his name in Britain. They all hate him. The racist, homophobic Ferrucci.
I didn't know that because he comes across actually very well.
I know he's so entertaining, but if you knew the background, where he had an Indian co-driver in Formula 2, I think, or Formula 3, and he made some racist comments about his teammate, and he was called before the stewards. He had his mobile phone in his overalls, which is FIA. You kind of have a phone in your pocket. So, and then he was called to the stewards and didn't go, and he was kicked out. Yeah, he was a bit of a cocky American with some bad quotes, but he was only about a 19-year-old. So but whether you're allowed to.
What do you know at 9? What do you know at 19? I think he should be excused a little bit.
He might have gone to rehab for all we know. He might have gone to a whole course about racism. He might by now be, who knows? And he was on pole for AJ Foyt's team, which is brilliant news because AJ Foyt is a legend.
Well, he might not even be driving for them next year. He certainly hasn't been confirmed. He might be dropped. So
they've taken.
Where did he end up?
They've taken on Malukas, this kid that I was raving about last weekend, who had a really nothing weekend, Malukas, this weekend. So they've taken on Malukas. He dropped down to about 7th or 8th, I think, in the end. I think he dropped back throughout the whole race. He didn't have the race pace. Lovely story. We've had our Toby Sowery, this British guy. We mentioned him before. This is his 3rd IndyCar race. He's had 2 road courses before for this team with Dale Coyne Racing, who keeps on putting a new driver in every weekend in this 51 car, which I love. Toby did sort of Formula 3 in Britain, and then he couldn't find the money, and he's been to America and raced Indy Lights in America, the IndyNXT, and then he ran out of money, and then he's earning money racing GT cars in America and LMP2s. And he had another really solid run. He qualified about 18th, 20th, I think. But at one stage, he was up 8th on the leaderboard. It was really good towards the end of the race. But he was the last of the 8 leading cars that had a different strategy. So all of them had to pit once more. But Toby was almost a lap down. So, of course, when he pitted, he dropped right. He finished 17th in the end. So he's had 3 top 20 finishes. But it's just I just so like to see kids like that. Well, he's not a kid anymore. He's about 29 now. But, he's racing, or even if he doesn't race, like my one Grand Prix, it makes such a difference that you've raced at the top table. But there were no safety cars for the whole race. If a safety car had come out when he was running 8th, but that's how strategy works, of course, in IndyCar and NASCAR and stuff in America. Which is coming more and more to Grand Prix racing. If there had been a full course yellow when he was running 8th, he probably would have finished 8th because the top 8 were all on the lead lap, would have all pitted, but that didn't quite come his way. So IndyNXT was another dull race, rather dull track. Louis Foster, our British driver, who looked certain to win the championship and win $1 million towards buying a drive in IndyCar next year. He was on pole by 0.3 from everybody else, another great dominating, but he was out and jumped at the start because of quite a bit of a slipstream down to the start, the first corner, which is why they tend to have so many crashes. But Jacob Abel, the only guy that's within, could possibly take the title off him, but he's still miles behind. Got ahead into turn 1, and that was it. Louis, he tried a couple of times to have a go, but he never had a chance. And of course, his tyres wear out. You're following closely for 20 laps. You lose your grip. They got pushed to pass, but he tried a couple of times and couldn't make it happen. So he finished 2nd. Sporty's winning run. Jamie Chadwick's just gone cold again. After winning,
she has not gone cold. How can you say that? She was there or thereabouts to the last race. One race, she's gone cold.
No, there was another road course she was cold. Well, qualified 10th, 0.8 slower than your teammate is a bit cold.
For one race. But who would have thought she would be better at the ovals than she would on the street courses and the tracks?
Because, you might not like this, the setup of the car is so important around an oval. You're going around 165 miles an hour. You're driving for the Andretti team, which is the Andretti Global team. So you've got one of the best teams. That's why their cars have always been quick. That's why, Louis Foster says he's had the best car all year. So has Jamie Chadwick. But Road America, that amazed me. I thought she'd be 4th or 5th, but she was on pole and, But yeah, those ovals, if the car's really good underneath your new tyres, there's nobody else overtaking, you've got to track to yourself, And so she got a really good lap time in and got on the front row, but then was taken out early on, sadly. But qualifying 10th, 0.8 of a second behind your teammate is going chilly.
Yeah.
And she finished 14th after a bit of, she didn't move anywhere either. So it's a shame, really. But there was the momentum seems to have slightly slowed. Admittedly, on the oval, it wasn't her fault. She was crashed out by the mad Brazilian. So Indy was a bit boring. They've only got 3 ovals left, only 2 weekends left now. Next weekend's a double header around the Milwaukee Mile, two rounds of the championship, and then a week later or 2 weeks later, they go to their final round. They finish here 2 weeks later.
2 weeks later. What's the series before NASCAR? What would you do? What's it with stock car racing? What would you do before
Infinity? They raced.
And then before Infinity, what sort of
trucks?
What would...
Trucks are Formula 3. Trucks are Formula 3.
Really?
The Infinity, which look just like NASCAR's, but they haven't got so much power and so much aero. They're the sort of Formula 2 cars, and then the Cup cars are the Formula 1. Yeah, the trucks are the Formula 3 boys.
Wow.
And then there's things like ASCAR. There's another championship called ASCAR, I think. I forgot what it's called now. Then there's another wild series where the juniors have a go.
Nice.
So entertainment. Well, only really. I mean, the IndyCar wasn't that entertaining, but Daytona was the most entertaining motorsport, albeit in a bit of a wild way.
Let's come over to the
true
UK.
Hollywood stories. Yeah, back home to the BTCC and the British Super. It's only finished about half an hour ago, which is why we're doing our report right now. BTCC. They went to Donington.
Why did you put SSC on the end?
I don't know, because I can never stop. I never think I've said enough. I say BTC. So to make sure I make enough C's, I just put a few in BTCC to make sure, BTC.
Is that because you're BBC trained?
Possibly.
Yeah.
But medium tires, they decided the new circuit at Donington was too abrasive for their medium tires. Oh, it's their soft tires. Because what's brought touring cars alive again, back to the old, creative regulations, it was this difference between the soft tires that the leaders couldn't run in race 2. So the midfield boys would have the soft tyres in race 2 and the front boys would have to go to mediums. I don't know whether there's a hard tyre. I'm not sure what they ran at Thruxton. I mean, like Thruxton, you see, they couldn't. They had to run the one tyre all weekend. So it just meant there was a bit of a sort of formulaic, the front people up the front, staying up the front, not much overtaking. So it wasn't as exciting as most recent touring car races have been. The top 4 go for the championships. The Turkington had 1 win and a second. So the first 2 races, Turkington was on pole. He had a first and a second. This is the old-fashioned way. Ash Sutton qualified second, had a second and a first. Hill had 2 thirds. So the top 3 were the same drivers in the first 2 races. And Tom Ingram had a 5th in the first race and then had this dramatic hole in the radiator in race 2, which ruined his weekend to a certain extent before we come to the reverse grid race. But yeah, he had a hole in the radiator, which put him back, had to retire. So he lost points badly. But then we came to the reverse grid race, and all of a sudden, good old touring cars were back and entertaining again, because it's always about when they mix them up, which would drive me mad as a racing driver trying to, meritorious formula. But of course, in touring cars, it's not tend to be that way all the time. But Dan Camish got drawn on pole by a very kind. It was Ash Sutton, his teammate. So Ash Sutton drew his teammate, but that was 11th. So Dan had a runaway win at the front quite easy, despite a pace car or 2, which held off. But it was mayhem behind. The 2 Vauxhall boys, they were having wonderful battles to stay ahead of the more fancied runners. And Tom Ingram, who had his engine changed in an hour by his crew, started 19th. And the whole street, he came to just second. I mean, it was the most unbelievable. Turkington got nerfed out early on. So he got by Turkington because he was punted off. Ash Sutton went off and hit things, and I forgot what he hit. But he had to retire.
Probably the tyre stack. I know somebody hit the tyre stack.
That was in race 2, I think. It was a midfield battle. Yeah, Tim Harvey was a bit upset about that.
But I'm surprised there wasn't much overtaking other than Tom Ingram in the final race, because Donington's known for having lots of different overtaking spots. They're
all on the same tyres up front. They're all on the same tyres. They've all got similar push to passes. They're getting used to the push to pass. One guy might have won, but the front runners have all got similar amounts. You've got 2 laps, he's got 3 laps, he's got 2 laps. So they don't have much push to pass, the leaders, but they've got enough speed to stay ahead of the midfield boys, how much push to pass they have. But Ingram's charge through was absolutely mega. And he was in tears, sweat and tears. That was proper drama, the emotion flew out. And he had this awful, awful weekend. And then the boys had done the work and got the engine in and got the car, proper old sort of motor racing story, like NASCAR. And the boy came out, drove it through the field to finish second. And Tommy couldn't talk. He couldn't talk to them at the end.
Well, that's a rarity for Tom Ingram, isn't it?
I know. He was already crying before he joined them, I think, So anyway,
it puts him right in the mix now, Tiff. Sorry, so he's second place, still second place.
Jake Hill with 2 thirds, a steady Jake Hill without 2/3 of the fifth is leading now, not far ahead of Ingram. Sutton's third, but I think it's pretty much a 3-horse race, to be honest.
It is, yeah. Turkington's too far back now. He's 23 points behind Ash Sutton in third. So it's a 3-horse race.
But still, we've got the Silverstone short circuit stock car race to come. That'll always be entertaining.
I don't enjoy that.
Track limits, Cops Corner, they'll all be out wide on the runoff. There'll be no penalties. That I can't watch that race. But then finally, they do end at a proper race circuit with the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit. So
nice.
Which overtaking is difficult, but then it should be a bit difficult. So, and then British Superbikes. So if you weren't at Donington, you should have been at Campbell Park, glorious Campbell Park, where even Superbikes can't overtake very well, although it's wonderful to watch. Again, so often motorsport, you don't often get great racing, but there's some circuits and some corners where you go to the mountain, watching the Superbikes, 2 wheels in the way up in the air over the mountain. That's entertaining enough. But there was a lot of falling off going on in FP1s and practice, so I didn't quite catch all who were falling off, but it was a bit wet and dry and misty and dizzy, and Ryan Vickers, I think he fell off on the outlap or something before qualifying, and so he had to start from don't know where at the back, and he had a miserable weekend because Ryan, he was the star of Thruxton, but he was actually the star of the weekend. So the end results were the same 4 riders took the top 4 places in all 3 races. So it was a bit that way.
It doesn't normally go that way. It's normally all over the place.
But it's overtaking. No, Campbell overtaking is so even on those bikes. Carl Riders Yamaha. Well, the story was Tommy Bridewell, of course, the championship leader in his Honda. He qualified 12th, so he had problems as well. So he came through to 4th in race 1, which Carl Ride won from Lee Jackson on the Honda. They're all Hondas. Carl Riders Yamaha, of course. Then Lee Jackson Honda and Charlie Nesbitt Honda. Tommy Bridewell came to win. Race 2 was cracking. There was three of them, the 3 on the podium. Bridewell ahead of Ride, ahead of Jackson, were just at it the last 2 laps, but no overtaking happening. Couldn't get through. And the last ride again, Carl Ride won, holding off Tommy Bridewell. Bridewell couldn't find a way through. But the story really was Ryan Vickers, who he had such a bad weekend. It got battled through to finish 7th in the second race. And I think the grid goes on the fastest lap in the race. I think he was on the front row. I'm not sure where he qualified for race 3. He was running 3rd. On the second lap, he dived up the inside of Jackson, I think it was, to take 2nd. And then down the straight, he took the lead off his teammate, Carl Ride. And then starting the 3rd lap, put the fastest lap, almost breaking the lap record despite overtaking 2 people. He dropped the front of it going into that uphill to Charlie's. Down he went, tumbling and tumbling. He was holding his wrist badly. I hope it's not too bad to stop him running.
Where's Kyle Ride from?
I don't know.
I thought he was an Antipodean, but is he? He's English,
I think they're English. I think they're all English, that mob. But a lot of walking wounded. A lot of riders are riding with casts on their wrists and broken bones. So there was a bit of a walking wounded up at Campbell Park, but good entertainment.
It's that type of circuit, isn't it? It's a 2-horse race between Carl Ride and Tommy Bridewell. In the championship, and I need to find out where he's from because he is British, is he? Carl Ride?
I think so. Yes, I'm fairly sure. Well, come on, you're going to find out before. While I go through what's on next weekend, you can find Carl Ride.
I've got to have an honorary mention to Snappy John, who takes all the photos at Caterham. He's actually quite a good driver. He just won a race this weekend in a Caterham. So just tip my hat to John as well. So that's my only other little bit of news I've got.
You done Carl Ride yet?
No, but he is. Yeah, he's British. Oh.
Yeah.
There we go. That's it.
Yeah.
that was an anticlimax. Birthplace is Jacksdale Notts, Nottinghamshire.
There you go.
140 races, and he's only a youngster. He's only 29. No, he's not. Anyway, that's enough Carl Ride. Well done, Kyle. What's
the weekend, Carl?
Well, I can tell
next
you
week, another massive weekend.
Because I've been invited to Italy and I can't go. I've got so much on because there's a big weekend in Italy with Formula One and everything else.
You're becoming a bit of a fluencer. You keep on getting I'm not getting any of these invitations. What was it? Rally in Iceland. You're out Where? What? Who's invited you to Italy?
Pirelli. You know why? Because you charge too much money.
I don't. Not for free. Just a trip. I'd go for nothing. I might think about it. Depends. So Pirelli wanted you to go to the Monza.
Well, I tell you now that in 2 weeks' time, if you want to do a trip for nothing, World Superbikes have invited me very kindly to go to Misano.
Nah.
See?
I'm at Goodwood.
Oh yeah, revival. Okay, what's coming out next weekend, please?
Any trip to Italy, to be honest, is wonderful. I would go to Superbikes in Italy, to be so. So yeah, the Monza, the Italian Grand Prix, the most overrated circuit in my opinion. It's just a curb hopping thing. I don't know why. I never enjoyed racing around Monza. I don't know why. There's no really challenging corner. The Ascari chicane is that's a quick left, right, left. That final corner, the parabolica, you break into it down to about third gear. It's not as quick as it looks. Then you just accelerate out, up against the edge. And then you have to just bounce over chicanes. I hate where you have to bounce chicanes to go fast. But however, it does produce good racing on and off. Formula 2 are there. Formula 3 for their final round. And Luke Browning and Gabriele Mini are 1 point behind the Italian Luca Fornaroli. So massive British interest. He's the Williams protege, the Williams apprentice in Formula 3. So that should be lethally, dangerously exciting because slipstreaming and plunging into that turn 1. I hate that turn 1. I mean, it can ruin a race. So many races get ruined in a stupid turn 1. I'd let them bypass turn 1, but then you come down to the other chicane and they'd all crash at the second chicane. So that's Italy, obviously, where we'll all be walking. IndyCar, as I said, it's a double weekend, Saturday and Sunday, a race around the Milwaukee Mile. Also, IndyNXT get one race around the Milwaukee Mile where hopefully Louis Foster will tidy up the championship with 1 round still to go. And hopefully Jamie Chadwick will be back alongside him on the front row and dominating. World Endurance Championship, COTA. I think Toyota have lost 3 horsepower and gained 5 kilograms, and Ferrari have lost 2 kilograms and gained 1. These balance of power adjustments every week are unbelievable.
I'll tell you what I would do. Balance of power, I would just sandbag before the big races, before Le Mans.
But it's not easy. Now they've got these computers in your engine and everywhere. It's not easy to sandbag anymore.
Just put a 10p piece under the throttle so you can't go all the way down. That's it.
MotoGP Aragon, which is Aragon. Oh, Aragon, I know that Aragon. Yeah, with that long twiddles, massive twiddlies, and that long back straight, which will favour the Ducatis. Man, you don't want anything to favour the Ducatis because Ducatis are already dominant. So there, the battle between him and him will go on. NASCAR Darlington, short track oval, plenty of pushing and shoving to get that last win to go through to the playoffs or score enough points to win in on points. Nothing going on in Britain that I found out, I don't think.
There we go.
Excited now?
There is something going on in Britain. Caterham's at Brands Hatch. There you go.
There you go. Grand Prix sec or just a clubby?
Just club. Still good.
Good entertainment. Go to Brands Hatch. I'm sure it won't be too expensive to buy tickets. And if you're down in Kent, wonderful club racing, entertainment,
exactly.
Racing, overtaking, thrills and spills.
It's supposed to be a nice weekend as well. Bit of sunshine, so that's good. But enjoy, everybody. Thanks for joining us. And we'll see you next week.
Cheers all. Bye.
Cheers. Bye.